You're watching The End Zone, sponsored by Brahms.
Welcome to a special pregame edition of The End Zone. It is a monster night in Norman, Oklahoma, as the Oklahoma Sooners host the Michigan Wolverines for the first time ever in Norman, only the second matchup between these historic programs of all time. It's going to be an electric night all night long. I am Colby Daniels. Former Oklahoma quarterback Charles Thompson in the house tonight. We're going to break down this entire game, the OU offense, the OU defense, Michigan and what they bring to the table. It's going to be a ton of fun. We're going to touch base with Cameron Johnson in a moment. Charles, this matchup, though, is off the charts great when you think about just the tradition of college football and these brands meeting on the same field.
Well, I think what's most interesting about it, Colby, is for me, it is the right timing. Everything has a time and a place. And I feel like this game fits in the timing of where Oklahoma wants to be in terms of reestablishing themselves or having the opportunity to reestablish themselves as a program to say to everyone in the country, hey, we're not too far going away. We've won championships before. We still know how to win conference championships. And although we've had some tough years, we're going to demonstrate tonight that we're still the Oklahoma Sooners.
Michigan was on a long national title drought. Their last national title was 1997 before they won just a couple years ago. Oklahoma is now on a drought that goes back to the year 2000. So the Sooners are looking for some Sooner magic in Norman tonight. And maybe this is the game that kind of kickstarts another magical year. As we head out to Memorial Stadium, our own Cameron Johnson has been taking in the vibes all day. Cameron, I got to know, what is the atmosphere in Norman? And I would imagine you got to feel pretty excited just to be a part of it.
Absolutely, 100%. The vibes are great. The music's going. Fans packing into the stadium now. It's a stripe out. You can start to see those colors taking place. And I tell you what, it just does not get much better than this. Two of the winningest programs in all of college football going head-to-head in prime time, no less. And if that doesn't get you fired up enough on its own, you should just hear what these fans have been like. Granted, they're a little quiet right now, but in their defense, it's probably because they've been going at it all day long. They were out loud and proud at College game day this morning and have been nonstop ever since. In fact, they've been showing several other games from around the country on the scoreboard behind me, one of those being Oklahoma State versus Oregon. That one, spoiler alert, not going too well, but they have made sure to let fans hear that. A lot of booing, but all that to say, a lot of hype around this matchup, but you know who's not feeding into that is the teams playing in it. Ben Arbuckle, the offensive coordinator for the Sooners, is saying, well, the game plan certainly is going to look a lot different between what they had against Illinois State and tonight against Michigan. He says the process for preparation stays the same.
I'm not going to change my process at all. You know, I'm not going to change how I prepare for this game. I'm going to be true to myself, true to what I believe, and go out there and put our best foot forward against an awesome opponent who, on film, they're physical and they play hard and they're well coached. But just put our best foot forward in that regard and stick true to our process and have the boys ready to go on Saturday.
Now, this matchup drawing a lot of attention for a number of reasons. Two blue blood programs, not to mention a top 20 showdown, but it's also marking the return of Sharon Moore to his alma mater. He's in his second season as the Wolverines head coach, meaning that he actually played his career here at Norman back in 2006, 2007, played on the offensive line, meaning there's a lot of familiarity with the guys on the Sooners sideline. In fact, Brent Venables actually his defensive coordinator when he played Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator. Then as far as teammates, Joe John Finley, the tight ends coach here at OU, as well as DeMarco Murray, both guys he played with. He says there's a lot of love between him and this program, but that this trip is strictly business.
A lot of people that I know on the staff and have a lot of respect for, and it's a great town, great place, but this is about the kids. You know, it's not about me. It's not about any return to home for me. It's about the players on our football team going to go try to win a game. It's going to be an awesome atmosphere. Don't get me wrong. It's a great town, and obviously I got my degree from there, and there's a love there. But like these kids are what's special to me. And it's a night game in an SEC environment, so it's going to be loud. So. But we played in loud environments, but we're going to have to prepare for the noise.
Well, a lot of love between him and this program, like he said, but when asked, he said there has been no communication between he and his former teammates and coaches, and instead is electing to do the talking on the field. As for what happens afterwards, That is yet to be determined, but got to be a fun one no matter what. Kickoff just coming up very soon. Vibes very good here in Norman. Have more for you coming up in just a bit, but for now, back to you guys.
We will touch base with you again. Before kickoff happens, I got to get another vibe check out at Memorial Stadium, as the fans have been off the charts excited for this all week long. And we got to get game picks as well, so we'll do that at the end of the show. Once again, Charles Thompson, former Oklahoma quarterback, joining us as we get ready for this OU-Michigan game, less than now 30 minutes away. She mentioned it, the historic nature of these two teams. Blue blood universities, right? I mean, they are as blue as it gets in terms of Oklahoma and Michigan. And I started going through some of the all-time numbers in terms of wins and winning percentage. Check this out. This is where they rank in the history of college football all time. Michigan is first in wins. Oklahoma is sixth. Now, I will say, you have teams like Princeton and Yale and some of these others that haven't done anything in college football for nearly 100 years, but have, got a jump start in the early days. But wins, winning percentage, national championships, Heisman winners, both of these teams rank in the top 10 all time. You start to look at some of the other numbers in terms of conference championships, bowl games, All-Americans, NFL draft picks. I mean, outside of Michigan ranking 11th all time in bowl game appearances, both of these programs rank inside the top 10 all time in every one of these categories. It's pretty incredible long term what these programs have accomplished.
Well, you said it best. I mean, it's the two blue blood programs that exist in college football. When you go back to history of looking at things, you talk about Michigan, the Ohio State, you talk about Oklahoma, you talk about Texas, you bring up Nebraska, you bring up the USCs. These fit right in that. And it's amazing that these two programs only met twice.
Yeah.
This is the second time. The first time it's happened outside of a bowl in the regular season. So it'll be an interesting matchup. Listen, I was in the stands last year when Alabama came, that night game. I know that atmosphere was pretty fine.
Special atmosphere,
electric. Yeah. There in Norman. I think tonight will be the same.
Yeah, and I think because of what's on the line in terms of this season and projecting forward, the Alabama game was special because it kind of salvaged what was a season that was kind of in a nosedive. This is a season that still has a lot of hope in terms of what the Sooners can accomplish, and a win tonight, I think, just puts them on a pretty crazy trajectory for what could happen down the stretch. Now, these are both programs that struggled last year. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh moved on after the national championship. Sharon Moore takes over. Michigan had their struggles. We know what happened with Brent Venables and Oklahoma, but they hit the reset button offensively in the offseason. They bring in John Mateer, who threw for a Sooners debut record, breaking Baker Mayfield's record, 392 yards last week. He had 3 passing touchdowns, had another on the ground, one of the top dual-threat quarterbacks in the country. This is a guy that is going to jumpstart the Oklahoma offense from what we saw a year ago.
Well, I think the biggest key when you talk about a team from year to year, it's about relying on the shoulders and the smarts and the decision-making of the quarterback. Listen, I played the position. I know it very well. My sons have played the position. I think Mateer, to me, brings an element that I think people are underestimating. I think they got the Sooners kind of, to me, a little bit unranked, or should I say not unranked, but maybe they're underrating them in terms of that because of what they did last year. But I think defensively they're going to be a better football team, and I think offensively they're going to be the same as well. And I think that all goes back to John Mateer and Arbuckle and what they bring to the offense.
His experience, I thought, made him a lot more decisive in the passing game than the guys last year, and that's not to say that those guys were bad. They just didn't have any experience, right? This is a guy that's played college football, so he feels more comfortable out there.
Well, not only he's played college football, but he's been in one system.
That's right.
He's had one coach, and that coach was at Washington State, recruited him out of high school, and now that coach, and here is in Norman, Oklahoma.
Which takes me to my next point. Because of that, his comfort level with the offense, he brings a certain swag that I think has sort of had an infectious type of feel to the entire offense.
The biggest key in the quarterback position is first year. Obviously, you're playing on most talent. When you get in your second year, you start playing on your experience, your knowledge, your comfortability in terms of the schematics and the schemes, and you understand your offensive coordinator, what he wants to do and why he's trying to do it. And I think certainly John Mateer and Arbuckle's relationship and their continuity is certainly going to, I think, be on demonstration tonight.
He's going to lead the way. He's going to need the help of the run game, though, which was not very good in the opener. Now, we're expecting that we're going to see as many as from 2 to 4 different starting offensive linemen tonight. I'm really curious to see what that group ultimately looks like and what the rotation becomes tonight, but it might be a completely different look than 1 week ago, not to mention the prized portal edition of Jade Knott, who essentially had 1 carry last week. He is as healthy as can be expected, and Brent Venables talked about reinserting him back into the offense.
He's one of the more explosive players in college football. I know he's banged up last year. He was banged up in camp, but looks to be close to 100%. He's a real weapon, and I think he'll play a real factor in our season moving forward. So I'm excited about that, to have another weapon like that on our offense, and we're going to need him.
He is obviously extremely explosive, but he has to have run lanes, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how explosive you are. If there's nowhere to go, you can't really capitalize on that ability, and that goes back to the offensive line. And I don't know if it's going to look drastically different in terms of production tonight, because while you might be getting some new bodies that are better, you're also going to be facing a much better defensive front.
Well, yeah, so the test to me is about that. Listen, I've had up-close experience with Michigan, the Big Ten. My oldest son, Kendall's at Utah. One of his first starts was in the big house in Michigan, so I was there live and saw that personally. And then obviously last year, a couple years ago, with my son Casey being in Nebraska and seeing Michigan up close there. Listen, they are a true essence of a big team program. They're rough, tough, big, rigid up front. They'll rely on their running game, and so their defense and offense will be predicated on how they stop the run and how they're able to run. If they can do those things tonight, then certainly the Sooners will have their hands full. But on the flip side, Kobe, I don't know that I necessarily think the running game for Oklahoma has to be stellar. I think John Mateer and Arbuckle know how to manipulate things strategically in relations to the back end. And I think Oklahoma will be a lot more explosive because John Mateer knows what he's looking for, knows exactly where the receiver's supposed to be. And I think that knowledge of what he has, along with being comfortable with Arbuckle, it should show up and be a positive advantage to the Sooners tonight.
My only worry would be if you don't at least present the threat of a run game. That Michigan front seven is so good that if they're able to just pin their ears back knowing that you can't run the football and it's all pass, that those inexperienced offensive linemen may allow Michigan to get into the backfield and disrupt things. But I think your point is absolutely valid. He knows what he's doing. Ben Arbuckle is going to be creative with the play calling, and their ability to stretch the field vertically, I think, with John Mateer is going to be extremely valuable. Now, in terms of the other side of this matchup, the Oklahoma defense, I mean, they were phenomenal last year, and I thought really at times were put in bad positions by either turnovers, deep in their own side of the field, by maybe just the amount of time they were on the football field. This is a group that I think has star caliber players at all three levels. Brent Venables is now calling the plays defensively and has taken complete ownership of the defense. I think that group is one of the best in college football.
Well, it's funny you say that. I just had a conversation. Both of my sons, Kendall and Casey, were talking about that. When you're specialized in something that you're specialized in, nobody does it better than you. And I think when you hear that Brent Venables is taking back over defense, it makes a lot of sense. Listen, they are one of the most thorough prepared units that I've seen. Brent Venables gets his defense prepared like offensive coordinators get their offensive prepared. They know the elements of every aspect of the opponents coming in with strengths and weaknesses. They know particular people. The left tackle, maybe he slides a little bit this way, that way. He runs them through a very rigid pregame from the standpoint of knowing exactly who your opponent's going to be. I think this defense was fairly good last year. I think it's going to be extremely good this year. And I think, like I said, tonight, I think we're going to see a lot of things demonstrated for Oklahoma to say back to the country, hey, we're still the Oklahoma Sooners. I really do.
And I think they're going to do everything in their power to try and confuse the five-star true freshman Underwood from Michigan. Brent Venables talked about, I think, just the overall respect that he has for this kid who's making his second ever start and first ever road start in Norman tonight.
He's a guy that, and he's, as I said, to open up, man, he's a little different. And again, it reminds me a lot of a Trevor Lawrence, just quick, decisive, accurate, poised, tough, consistent, and there's a reason he was the #1 player in America.
Overall, you look at Bryce Underwood, he just turned 18 3 weeks ago, signed a $12.5 million NIL deal. Now he's on the big stage, College Game Day in town, this national matchup against a terrific defense. I mean, this kind of feels like one way or the other, somebody is going to really make a name for themselves, OU defense or Bryce Underwood. He's got a terrific run game behind him. Justice Haynes, the Alabama transfer, went for about 170 yards last week and 3 touchdowns. But Michigan is going to be Michigan, right? They're going to put him in situations where it's not necessarily all on his shoulders, and they're going to try to put him in a position where they succeed on first down and put him in positions to win.
Well, if you go back and watch the last couple of years, J.J. McCarthy came out of Michigan. Although people looked at him in essence in terms, they still relied on the running game, even with his experience.
That's right.
When he was at the helm of the Michigan offense. So their identity is to run the football. Their identity in the Big Ten is that they're rough and rugged up front. They want to try to lean on you a little bit. But I think to the flip side of that, Kobe, I think 3 or 4 years ago when Oklahoma was in the Big 12, that might be more of a concern. But they've spent some time now in the SEC. This would just be like another walk in the park. They've seen other offensive linemen try to lean on them when you talk about their times in the SEC. Brent Venables had time with being at Clemson. This, to me, is, like I said, it sets up as a right time for this program. Under Brent Venables, who we'll talk about later, I think this could be a big stage for him to let everyone know, including inside and outside the program, this is why I took this job.
You know a few things about freshman quarterbacks playing, right? I mean, between you and your sons, you've been around football a long time. Look, Arch Manning a week ago, right, goes into a hostile atmosphere on the road against a really good defense, and everybody was expecting this guy to look like a Heisman winner in his first start. Didn't really go that way. I think Bryce Underwood is really talented as well, but he's also going into a similar situation against a really quality defense, hostile atmosphere. It's not a necessarily easy thing to do, to just go on the road and be the guy that everybody thinks you're going to be.
Well, I think the thing that is important to realize and recognize in that, Kobe, is in 1987, I made my first start, and I'd been playing all year. You know, people talk about Arch started last year, did some things, but in games that weren't really high tempo, high pressure. My first start was at home against Missouri back in 1987, and we were favored by 50 points, and we ended up barely winning the game, 17-14, and I played horrendous. And all the national pundits on the TV the next week downrated Oklahoma. We got voted, been #1 all year long, still was undefeated. We were going to Lincoln the following week, and they decided to move us from #1 to #2, and all of it was because how I played the game. And so that was the game that led up to be the game that I remember most of my whole career, the game of the century, where I was able to go into Lincoln and do what I did. So I don't put a whole lot of strength into a performance of a freshman being on the road. Certainly going to be in a hostile environment, but doesn't mean that he doesn't have the ability to pull it off. I think this is the key factor that I think that it takes. Brent Venables, last week we saw when Texas went into Ohio State, Matt Patricia gave Steve Sarkisian and Arch Manning fits what he was able to disguise, and that was quoted by him himself. I think Brent Venables had to have some kind of package there waiting for Underwood's and the offensive coordinator as well.
I would imagine they are ultra aggressive, and you see a lot of pre-snap movement to do everything in their power to confuse the newly turned 18-year-old quarterback of the Michigan Wolverines. It's a pretty incredible atmosphere in Norman all day long. If you've been watching social media or even College Game Day this morning, it has been turned up since the sun rose bright and early this morning. And the tailgating scene has been off the charts as well. Our own Christina Santiago made the rounds to give you a look at tailgating in Norman for this monster matchup.
Game day in Norman isn't just about what happens on the field. Out here, the tailgating sets the tone between OU versus Michigan. And here's what fans had to say about this matchup.
Yeah, Coach Venables is going to have these guys fired up, ready to beat Sharon Moore. He came from OU, so it's going to be a good one.
Michigan, you know Michigan Nation's here. You can see it. I mean, we are showing up. We always support you. Go Blue.
With excitement in the air, fans have been up bright and early, and even some Michigan fans traveled over 16 hours to be part of this game day.
Just waking up early, 5 or 6, getting down here tailgating, watching some games. Hopefully watch the Cowboys lose.
And we do a big tailgate in Ann Arbor, so it's quite nice for us to be able to come and just relax and be a part of it versus throwing the party.
Some fans even hold on to traditions they believe bring their team good luck.
I wear my underwear inside out every OU game.
Is that like a good luck charm thing?
Yes, every single time I've done it, we've won. And sometimes I forgot. Those times are the times we've lost.
With the tailgate in full swing, OU fans have made their presence known. And one fan who has been cheering on the Sooners for over 40 years shared this message for the team.
Man, we're pulling for you guys, whether you win or whether you lose, because we know that you're learning things here at OU that'll last you not only for this ball game, but for a lifetime. Boomer, Sooner.
For Sooner Michigan fans, this is more than just football. It's a whole Saturday experience. Reporting in Norman, I'm Christina Santiago.
Thank you, Christina. Unbelievable to see all those Michigan fans traveling, what did they say, 16 hours to see their team in action against this this incredible historic matchup, first time ever in a non-bowl game. OU won the 1975 Orange Bowl 14-6. A lot of people have projected this is going to be another defensive battle between these two, and we'll kind of break down our final thoughts and score predictions in a moment. We do have to give you some game highlights from earlier today because Oklahoma State was also in action in a high-profile matchup, number 6 Oregon, and unfortunately for the Cowboys, this one was all Ducks from the get-go. Second play of the game, Noah Whittington takes it to the house. That really set the tone, I thought, for the game. Oklahoma State would go 3 and out. On the very next play, Oregon hits freshman DeCorian Moore for, Oregon hits DeCorian Moore for a long touchdown. It's immediately a 2-touchdown favorite for Oregon, and ultimately they just completely run away. OSU really had very little positive things happening in this game, and I think Mike Gundy is going to feel a little heat after this one. 69-3 is the final. Well, that's, I mean, obviously it's certainly frustrating when you talk about it. You know, I asked the question of people, you know, obviously the Oklahoma State Cowboy fans, when does the pressure really begin to get heated up under Gundy's seat? And of course, you know, I don't follow OSU as much, but they say it's already heated. Yeah. There's been a lot of grumbling about this team last year. I think that, like you said, they went winless in the conference. I don't know how much further they can do that. And sometimes, you know, they're just, listen, I played against Mike Gundy in high school. Never beat him, by the way. I beat him, went undefeated versus him in Oklahoma. But in high school, he was at Midwest City. Back then, Midwest City was a powerhouse, and we never beat him. And so I like Mike, you know, although it's going to be, they got to sit down and reevaluate it. And sometimes you kind of know maybe it was time to move on and do something different. I don't know if this is the time for him, but certainly I can tell you there are a lot of conversations being taken place now. Yeah. After a performance like this, 69-3 is just it's just a humbling and really totally embarrassing experience for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. There was a lot of talk this week that Oregon being favored by 4 touchdowns was completely disrespectful to Oklahoma State, and really it was disrespectful because it wasn't enough, right? I mean, that was a complete domination. And Oklahoma State has next week off and a little extra time to regroup. They absolutely need it after what happened in Eugene. All right, let's head back to Norman as once again Cameron Johnson rejoins us. All right, Cameron, I told you I was going to need another vibe check. We are about less than 10 minutes away now from kickoff. What is your overall experience right now of what the OU fan base is like and just the excitement as we get closer and closer to kickoff?
Well, you talk about excitement, listen to this. I told you the vibes were good earlier. They're great now. The team doing their walk into the end zone right now. There you have it. It is so close to kickoff here. The official time inside 30 minutes away now. But Michigan getting ready to walk off the field here. I'll let the fans speak for it. Here come the boos. Yeah, it's fun. This is an electric atmosphere. And, you know, Christina mentioned that the Michigan fans have traveled all this way. It is easy to spot them. That maze stands out in this sea of crimson and cream. It is just, you can tell this has the makings of a very high-profile electric matchup in this place. I was here for the Ohio State matchup way back in 2016, I think it was. This feels very similar to that. So I'm expecting a really fun battle tonight. I think I heard you guys talking about the defense. This absolutely, in my mind, is a defensive battle. And both sides, they're going to make themselves heard tonight. Just so close to kickoff. It's going to be a great game here tonight. Yeah, it's just can't wait.
Our game picks, Cameron, you have any keys to the game, anything that you think Oklahoma has to do if they're ultimately going to be successful?
Yeah, I think Sharon Moore, Michigan's head coach, was very forthright in saying they're going to come after John Mateer. He's the key to the offense. So the offensive line is going to have to step up, protect him well. Yes, it would be fantastic to get that run game going, just knowing that they're going to try and take John Mateer out early. Same deal defensively, Bryce Underwood. He's being tested on the road for the first time, kind of like Arch Manning. I think I heard you guys mentioning that as well. So this is going to come down to the defenses 100%. OU needs to come out flying, set the tone early, and I think that is what it'll take for the Sooners to come away with a statement win here tonight. But of course, we'll find out very soon.
All right, let's call our shot, right? It's time for game picks, score predictions. Cameron, we'll start with you. What do you got?
Well, like I said, defense is the name of the game in this one. I don't think there will be a ton of scoring. I think field goals will make a difference in this one as well. I've got OU winning this one 24-17.
Cameron, we appreciate it. Have a great time. Enjoy the atmosphere, and we'll talk to you after the game for post-game. Charles, what do you think?
I think this is a game that's going to be. I think Oklahoma offense is going to announce to the big football world, hey, John Mateer and Arbuckle is the reason why we got him here, and this is why we're going to show you tonight. I think Brent Venables. I think the defense will give up some things here and there. I think Oklahoma can come out and win this game 35-24 is what I got.
I think this is one of those games early on where kind of like two boxers in a high-profile matchup. They're just kind of taking it easy, feeling each other out, trying to get a read, to get a couple jabs every once in a while, trying to get the timing. Not a lot of big offense in my mind early in this game. I think it's a defensive battle. Ultimately, I think you do get some big plays. I think Oklahoma is able to separate late. I do think this is a physical game. I think this is a hard-fought game back and forth, but I think in the second half, Oklahoma hits some big plays with Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer's offense, maybe get a little separation. The defense is able to pin their ears back and get after that freshman quarterback. And to me, that is the difference in the game. I think Oklahoma controls first down defensively and puts Bryce Underwood in some uncomfortable positions. And ultimately, again, I think it's a second-half Sooner win.
Well, I think it's certainly this. It's a stage for somebody to announce that they're here, that they're there. Could it be Underwood being a freshman statement, or could it be John Mateer? And I think, to me, Mateer is the one position at home, experience with his offense, not in a hostile environment like Underwood is. I'm leaning towards Mateer, and I think that's what's going to happen tonight.
When you think about this season and what's coming up, a win tonight or a loss tonight, I mean, obviously is going to give Sooner fans two completely different feelings, but you go to Temple next week, you have Auburn and the return of Jackson Arnold in a couple weeks, Kent State, and then Texas, and then it's an SEC gauntlet on the back half of the schedule. Tonight is really going to set the tone for what this 2025 season is and how fans are going to feel, I think, going into Auburn and Texas and the rest of that SEC schedule. If you don't win this one, I don't know that there's going to be a ton of confidence the rest of the way. If you do win this one, you start to ask that question, what if? What if you get Texas in a rivalry game? What if you're able to take care of, the teams like Ole Miss and Missouri and LSU that come into your house? What does that look like at the end of the year? I think no matter the outcome, there's going to be a lot of hot takes, good and bad, about this Sooner team following tonight.
Listen, at the end of the day, for me, you got to find a way to win this game. This sets the tempo, sends a message out to the country. Hey, Boomer Sooner, Oklahoma's back. I think tonight that's what they say.
They're the veteran team. They have the veteran quarterback. It's in their house. If you don't win this one, are you ever going to win the big matchups, right? I mean, I think that's a fair question in the Brent Venables era, so a monster game for Brent Venables. All right, that is it for us. We're going to let you get to kickoff. It's a big matchup. We will have post-game coverage breaking down everything through all four quarters. Thanks to Charles Thompson. I am Colby Daniels. We'll see you after the game. Oklahoma, Michigan from Norman tonight.